Peace, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. We back with another episode on the Real Ops Podcast, man. I'm your host, Double R. Before we get started and dive into this episode, man, I need y'all to click that subscribe, click that notification, and at the end of this, John, make sure you leave a comment because I know there's gonna be a lot of game in this one. Today, we're gonna be talking about this is a follow-up from my last episode 6, inspiration of frustration. And today we're gonna go into the things and basically break down how we end up running into ourselves out there on the dating scene when it comes to, meeting up with a spouse or ladies trying to hook up with a fella. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it, y'all. Without further ado, the people we date and tolerate are often based on how we see ourselves. How is that so, Double R? Because it's crucial to do the work on yourself before you jump into another relationship. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you go from one situation to the next situation and you messing with somebody's ex right after you became somebody's ex.
Bruh.
If you know what I'm saying, you don't take no time to really analyze and break down why things went south or why you just decided to walk away or whatever the situation was that brought you to be back on the dating scene or back single once again. So this is something that we have to really analyze and we have to break down because it all has to do with ourselves. And a lot of times we run into people who are just like us. And I'm going to get into that later in the episode when we talk about energies and how things are magnetized and stuff like that. So my advice is you got to leave it vacant before you rush to replace it. Understand what I'm saying? Leave it vacant before you rush to replace it. Because a lot of times when we rush stuff, we ruin it. Just think about it can be food. Just think about the last time you try to rush something that took, say it's a cake, it take a certain amount of time. It's a process. And you try to rush that process and the cake didn't taste good. I know this happened especially because I like brownies. You know what I'm saying? I be smacking on them brownies. So you make them brownies too fast or you don't, take your time and you try to rush it and pull it out too soon. Oh, it's gummy. It's slimy. Oh, you might as well throw the shit back in the trash because it just ain't going to be what you expect it to be. And that's why, we can't rush to replace it when it's vacant because if we rush to replace things, then we're going to ruin it. And a lot of times out of relationships, we don't sit still long enough after a breakup or separation to, to be able to even see that next person that come into our life clearly because there's a lot of residue that's left over from the last situation. And if you don't take time to get all that residue off you, get all that leftover off you, then, you probably not going to show up as your true self because you still got pieces and you still got remnants of that old person still lingering in your brain. Still, shit, you might even have a scent on your skin, depending on, because I know, man, sometimes we move fast, boy, from one situation to the next. A lot of times that's how we call ourselves dealing with stuff because we'll leave one alone and jump right into a new song. And it's like, nah, man, take your time, go in the dark, do that work by yourself. Because we often notice ourselves in the traits and characteristics and the flaws and the things that we dislike. Usually those are the things that we lack in our own life, and we lack submitting to those things and submitting to those changes before, we try to rearrange and jump into somebody else's life. So my saying on that is our submission is a free admission ultimately to the space or to the spouse that we want. I'm gonna say that again just in case you didn't pick up what I'm putting down. Our submission is a free admission into the space or spouse that's chosen for us. What I mean by that, if we don't submit to ourselves long enough and get back, to ourselves and reconstruct ourselves out of a situation, then we're gonna end up in the same situation and we're probably gonna attract 9 times out of 10, we're gonna attract that same type of female. Ladies, you're gonna attract that same type of brother, and you're gonna keep feeling like, and that's where you hear him out here. Ah, all these niggas ain't this. And it's like, nah. Ultimately, you ain't stopped to do the work on yourself. You ain't stopped to break yourself down and understand why you keep attracting that type of energy. Because we don't never want to wait. W-A-I-T, because of the weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, of the world. Now, let me break that down to you. We don't want to wait because of the weight. And the weight of the world has a lot to do with what people say. Because those things that people say, sticks and stones make, that's bullshit. Because that weight of people making comments, things like, damn girl, you still single? Or bruh, you just gonna sit in the house, you ain't gonna never get back out. That's the weight of the world. You ain't married yet? Damn, you ain't getting no younger. Those are the weights of the world. So because of the weights of the world and the heaviness of the world, a lot of times we don't wait, W-A-I-T, we don't wait long enough to be able to do the real work on ourselves. And that's why it's hard for us to see that, damn, this is the same type of person, because we such in a hurry. We so quick to try to get this weight off our back that the worldly expectations, you know, they overwhelm us. And when we fail to build a patience of self-resistance, then we just keep completing that cycle, family. That circle just keep going over and over and over. And we don't understand why we keep running into ourselves ultimately. Remember how I started off saying the people we date and tolerate are based on how we see ourselves. And because it's based on how we see ourselves, we really are fighting a never ending battle, because the way we see ourselves often is derived from the things we listen to, from that W-E-I-G-H-T, the weight of the world. And that makes us strong in a sense. But the W-A-I-T part of it, when we sit and wait and sit in the dark and rebuild and really analyze what we need to do for ourselves to level up so we can see and attract that type of person that we want by W-A-I-T, waiting, then ultimately that's, we learn how to fight the urges and build off that self. And, the next relationship, it's a lot stronger because it keeps us from just drifting along and going on, because we've waited, we did the work. So now it's easier to see the signs. It's easier to reflect and see that, damn, she just like her. Soon as I said this, her response was almost, the exact same. Her body language is almost the exact same. So by us waiting, it allows us to be able to see, things and not just keep drifting along in the situations and ending up in the same cycle and circle. And then you look back and, you hear women say, man, ain't no good man out here. I ain't found a good one yet. You ain't found a good one yet because you keep attracting yourself. So the same things you complaining about them are the same flaws and characteristics you have in yourself. That's why nobody wants to deal with you. And that's why your relationships only last so long. That's why it only goes so strong, because you're worrying about the weight of the world instead of the weight of self. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to look at to the discipline that you had when you held on to something that wasn't right. You was holding on to it, convincing yourself this, oh, no, I'm going to just chill. Every female is crazy, so I'm going to just deal with it. That discipline that you had to hold on to what was wrong is the same discipline you need to hold on to W-A-I-T and be strong and do that work in the dark. Because when you go in the dark and you're able to see yourself in the shadow, you're standing in between the light. Think about it. A shadow, right? A shadow comes from a dark area produced by a body coming between two rays of light. I'm going to say that again, just in case. I'm going to say that again. A shadow is produced by a body coming between rays of light. So if you get in the dark and you see a shadow, all you got to do is wait a little bit longer until you can see the light from within yourself and that self reflection. And, make sure you're correcting the things by reflecting on self, standing in the light, not in the shadows. And ultimately, you'll be able to gain a little ground, meaning we have to find the light in self perceptions so we won't tolerate or just deal with somebody, man. And if you're not looking at yourself in a certain light, you're looking at yourself in the dark and shadow, you're going to keep attracting these dark, shady, shadowy females.
Bruh.
Ladies, you're going to keep attracting these dark, shady, shadowy brothers that don't want to do nothing, ain't on their grind, ain't got no, you know what I'm saying, ain't got nothing real sufficient on their mind. You're going to keep attracting the same things if you don't sit back and w-a-i-t. Okay? So, wait on yourself, strengthen your self perceptions. You know what I'm saying? Become the ray of light and get out the shadows. And then ultimately things will be able to move a lot smoother for you in the future. And by doing so, ultimately, when you get back out there in the field, when you get back out there in the game and you're trying to, you know what I'm saying, you're back on the dating scene or whatever, it's easier for you to attract who you've become now instead of who you used to be. You know what I'm saying? It happened for myself. I had to go in the dark, step into the light within myself, tap into myself because we're all made of electrical charges. Electrical charges, people. That's why they say you can literally ground yourself by going outside and taking off your shoes and being barefoot, you know what I'm saying, and walking amongst the earth. Because when you do that, you're going to release all those negative electrons. You're going to release all that negative energy, that stress, that anxiety, all those things that don't serve you no well. And in return, as you release that, you make room for the beneficial energy. You make room for the things that'll benefit yourself and that will make you and deem you more attractive. You know what I'm saying? And you're truly able to level up instead of keep going through the same cycle. You're in that hamster wheel, you know, 3 good months, 2 bad ones, 4 good months, 1 bad one, 6 good months, 3 bad ones. You up and down on that roller coaster until you can really understand how magnetic energy is with people that we meet, that we date. And that's why I said at the beginning, we date and we tolerate based on how we see ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So if we accept certain things for ourselves, then we're going to attract just based off our energy and that energetic field that we have around us. We're going to attract those things based off our frequencies. You know what I'm saying? The things that we frequently put energy into is going to ultimately steer those same things, good or bad, magnetically. It's going to draw right back to you because that's part of our frequency. Those are the things that we frequently do. So if you're not frequently working on yourself, if you're not frequently trying to find ways to better self improve, then what make you think you're gonna meet a female like that? She ain't gonna have nothing going on. She gonna want you to take care of her and all this toxic stuff that we see. You know what I'm saying out here? It's almost shameful because that just comes from a sense of laziness and a sense of
Bruh.
entitlement to where you feel like you're entitled to these certain things, even though you ain't put in the work to earn half this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's why you hear that things, you are what you eat. And that applies to the thoughts. You are what you eat, the thoughts that you consume, the food, the activities, everything that makes up your daily routines, your habits, your frequencies. That's why you hear that saying because it's bigger than just a food. You are what you eat. Of course, the things that we take in are ultimately gonna spill back out the pores. That's how somebody can get faded to be off the liquor, and they come around you and they start sweating. It's like, damn, you smell like E&J, bruh. Because ultimately, in that sense, yes, you are what you eat. Ultimately, you are what you eat. The food and the thoughts that you consume ultimately are going to come out, and that's what you're going to attract. You're going to attract the same things that you're putting in, is going to be the same things that come back to you. So, you ultimately you're going to attract who you are, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? So to go into depth about this whole situation and give you a little bit more insight, I want to show you a chart that relates to our inner. It's called the energetic self-perception chart. And this is going to help you understand and overstand the changes necessary of self to perceive what we ultimately want to receive. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not perceiving certain things for yourself, then you're not going to be blessed with something above and beyond what you mentally and capable of, what you're mentally capable of receiving and taking on. It's too much. You asking for things that you're not even ready for. So pay attention to what you're requesting before it comes, because you might be requesting something that's way above your level. You ain't made it there yet. I'm not saying you're not worthy of it, but if you're requesting something that somebody can't request from you, and you're able to deliver and stand on those things that you're requesting yourself, then forget about it, man. Because a lot of times it comes from just analyzing those core thoughts and breaking down the core feelings and emotions and its actions and the results of those thoughts, and ego and non-ego, you know what I'm saying, low frequency, high frequency. So I'm gonna get into it, y'all. I'm about to pull this chart up on the screen, and as I break this chart down, I want y'all to see exactly what I'm talking about. So here we go. Almost done, man. Y'all bear with me. So check this out. If you look across from left to right in the middle of the chart, you see no ego, strong ego, ego, low, mid, high. And on one side, you got being, and on the other side at the bottom, you got inner faith. And inside the blue ring above that, you got outer faith, awareness, and having. And at the very bottom, in between inner faith and being, you got self transcendence. And at the top, you got on the outside of this, you got the core thought, core feeling, action, and result. So ultimately, just to give y'all a quick example of the breakdown of how this works, go to the middle of self. Now, self. If your self and your core thought is of a victim, then you're gonna have apathy, you're gonna have lethargy, and you're gonna vibrate on a low frequency. On the flip side, if you go all the way to the outside where it says no ego, non-judgmental, absolute passion, creation, high frequency. I'm not going to go into all of it and keep going back and forth and break down the chart, but I'm going to leave this up here so that y'all have time to tune in, take a screenshot or whatever you need to do. And when this episode is over, man, sit there and analyze how these things are functioning off of no ego, strong ego, ego at all, low, mid, and high frequencies. You know what I'm saying? Mastery, how much of a master you are with mastering yourself and the perceptions of self. Those are the things that's going to keep us clear when we looking at who's near and dear, when we looking at if we might need to get rid of this female, when we looking at, damn, am I the problem or is they the problem? These are all things how our ego and thoughts can be very symbolic to who's brought before us, based on my very first statement when I started off the episode, and I said we date and we tolerate based on how we see ourselves. I appreciate y'all for coming out, man. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Real Ops Podcast, where we turn the real ops into real opportunities. Because at the end of the day, the only opposition is the opposition of mind and the opposition of thought. So we're going to rearrange that and change that and make sure we know ain't no real ops out here except for the ones that's inside. So as soon as we can dive inside and turn that light on of self-reflection and self-perception and turn things around, then we'll be able to move and groove on another frequency. I hope y'all stay blessed, man. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Real Ops Podcast.